Hi, this is Letitia. I'm here with the rest of the Therap team to show you how to do the New York ISP plan. When you're building an ISP plan in Therap, there are a few components that we need to do first before working directly in the ISP plan. We're going to start by showing you those first. The first thing we're going to need to do is set up your service providers. An administrator at your agency will go to their admin tab and scroll down to ISP plan. Here you'll find Configure Service Provider. Once here, you can go ahead and add in service providers for all of your different service types. You'll see that the HCB waiver services already have some defaults there, but you can add additional ones if there's a new service not already on the list. This is a one-time setup that needs to be done in the beginning. However, if there's a new service added later on, it can always be added to be used in your ISP plans. The next step is we're going to build a directory of all your service providers in what we call shared contacts. This is also on the admin tab, and we'll find it under shared contacts and shared contact types. The first thing we'll want to do is make sure all the shared contact types are listed that you'll be adding. Here you can click Add or Edit and add as many additional custom types as you need. Once you have all of your types added, you can go ahead and start to add the specific service providers with their contact information. You can do this manually, or you can do it through an import from Excel. If you'd like to do it from Excel, you can go ahead and check out our other course available on directions on how to do that. To enter them manually, you will go from your admin tab to Shared Contact New. Here you'll fill out the information on the service provider with all of their information. Keep in mind when adding the organization name, it'll be very important to have the organization name / the department or service type. For example, if someone is receiving multiple services from an agency called Therap, we'd want to have them listed as Therap Community Hab or Therap Residential. That way when you're in your ISP plan, you'll be able to differentiate which one you want to add. We're finished with what we need to do on the admin tab for now, so we're going to jump over to our individual tab. Here, one more step before we get into our ISP plan, and we're going to go ahead and edit the individual data form. From the individual tab, we can go to individual data search and search for the individual we're looking for. As you search for one individual, you can start to type that individual's name in the individual name field. Once you have about 3 letters or so, you'll start to see a list populate of options of matches. Go ahead and click on the one you want. That will add the name to the field, and then click Search at the bottom. With our search results, you can see the name of the individual you would like to select. Go ahead and click on that name to open up their individual data form. Once you open the individual data form, we're going to go ahead and scroll all the way to the bottom and click Edit Individual Data. On the editable screen, you'll see there are many fields that you can complete. You can fill in as much information as you want, but the ones that are going to be directly related to your ISP plan include the individual's name, their tabs number, which you will put into the ID number, as well as their Medicaid number. Also, before you finish editing these fields, you'll want to make sure to include one more field. This is under the Guidelines section, and it's called Guardian of Self. Here you can check Yes, No, or Unknown. Once done, you're going to want to save at the very bottom of the page. On the confirmation page letting you know that the IDF was successfully saved, you can go ahead and use the back button to go right back into the individual data form. Now that we're back on the individual data form, we don't need to click Edit at the bottom this time. We're only going to click on the blue links found below. The first section we're going to look at is called Individual Contacts. Here we're going to add on the individual contacts or natural supports that the individual has. To add individual contacts, we're going to click on Create Contact. Keep in mind these are different from the shared contacts. The individual contacts are going to be the natural supports, so an individual's guardian, family members, advocates, and so on. Here we'll type in their name, and then we'll get into their address as well as their mailing address. If any of this information is the same as the individual, you can check to include the same information. Towards the end of filling out the contact, you'll want to specify the relationship to the individual. You can also specify if they are a guardian or medical guardian, as well as if they're an emergency contact or mailing contact. Finally, we have a comment box to add any additional information about this contact. Once done, you're going to want to save at the very bottom of the page. After you've added one contact, you can continue to click Create Contact and add as many contacts as this individual has. You'll also notice after adding contacts on that there's an Edit button if you need to make any changes. Below individual contacts, we have shared contacts. If you remember earlier, we added a directory of shared contacts for your agency. Here we're going to specify which contacts from that directory are specifically for this one individual. Here, click Add Shared Contact. Once the contact page opens, you'll see that directory that we made earlier. Here you can search for the correct contact by using the filter at the top, the alphabet, or you can use the page numbers. Once you find the contact you wish to add, you want to click Add off to the right of their name. With the shared contacts open, we can now search for the correct shared contact to add to this individual's page. We can do this a couple different ways. First, you could use the filter at the top. Next, you'll see an alphabet bar that you could use. Or you could use the page numbers. Looking through, you'll find the correct contact you wish to add, and you'll click Add off to the right. As you click Add, this will add it to the main page of the individual data form. You can continue to repeat that process to add all of the individual's shared contacts. If you add one you wish to take off, there's a Remove button to take them off of their page. After you've reviewed, you've added all of the individual contacts and shared contacts, we're ready to go back out to our dashboard. There's no need to save at this point as we've added all of those directly to the page. With all of those items done, we're now ready to go start working on the ISP plan directly. This is found on the Individual tab. You'll scroll down to the ISP Plan and Habilitation Plan section, and next to ISP, we're going to click on New. You can see the name of the individual you would like to select. Go ahead and click on that name. With the ISP plan open, we'll see at the top we have the individual's name, tabs number, and Medicaid number. Those were carried over from the individual data form we updated earlier. If you notice at this point anything's wrong, you can go ahead and go back out to the individual data and make the edit there. Next, we want to go ahead and add in the ISP date, and here we can click on the calendar icon to select out the effective date of this plan. If needed, you can go ahead and select out an ISP review date, as well as if the interaction was face-to-face, and then check off to include your signature and initials with that review. Section 1 includes a lot of narrative information. If you already have some information typed up electronically on another system or Word document, you'll be able to copy and paste that information into here. For the profile section, you can go ahead and copy and paste, or if you need to type up from new, you can. As you type up the information or as you review information you've copied here, keep in mind if you type the information here or whether you copied it from another source, you'll want to use our formatting bar at the very top. Here you'll be able to do things like change the font size, add bullets, add numbers, etc. You'll want to use our formatting toolbar to ensure everything is on the page correctly. Below the narrative, we have the person's valued outcomes. There's two ways to add valued outcomes in the system. The first way is adding right directly to the plan. Here you can click Add and continue to add as many valued outcomes as needed. The second option is if your agency has internal services where their habilitation plans have been completed. If their habilitation plans have been completed with valued outcomes listed, it will prompt you of those valued outcomes here. If those valued outcomes need to be included, you can check the box to include those in this ISP plan. Although you have two options to add the person's valued outcomes to the plan, you can use a combination, but you'll want to make sure not to add the same valued outcome more than once, as this will show throughout the system. If you are adding a new valued outcome to the plan, keep in mind this will also talk to the habilitation plan and they'll be able to use it there. Moving on to safeguards, we have a few different options we can choose from. The first option will allow us to add safeguards directly to the plan. Again, if you already have them typed electronically, you can copy and paste them into here. Next, you can add an external document. And then lastly, you have the option to include IPOPs that are already in the Therap system. These would include IPOPs that you've created, as well as any other department at your agency. On to Section 2, the individual's natural supports and community resources. Here again, you can copy and paste this information in, or you can go ahead and type it from scratch. Below the narrative section here, you'll find guardian of self, as well as the individual contacts you listed on the individual data form earlier. For the next 4 sections, we're going to be adding services from the shared contacts that we added to this individual's data form. Under Medicaid state plan services, we have 2 options. The first is to add one, and the second one is to add one if it's Article 16, 28, or 31. As you're adding services to these 4 sections, you'll see an if other field. This field should not be necessary as we've already added in the list of providers from shared contacts and the types from our admin tab. If you were to need to do an update to an if other field, you would need to update it in every ISP plan. Whereas if you've used your shared contacts, you'll be able to update the change in the shared contact directory from the admin tab. The first type we can add is the Medicaid state plan services. If you click add, you then can use the drop down to add the name of the provider as well as the type of provider. Once you've added from the drop downs, you can then click done, or you could click add more if you need to add another service provider to this section. If you're adding a Medicaid state plan services under Article 16, 28, or 31, you can use the separate button. You'll see the options are the same, except this time you can add which article it is. Once you've added your Medicaid state plan services, you can now add on federal, state, and county funded resources. Here the options are very similar, and you can add as many as you need and click done once you're completed. Now we're on the HCB waiver service section. This section has some more details than the others above. We'll click to add one. We're going to add in the name of the provider as well as the type. When you select the type, it's going to automatically fill in the frequency, and off to the right you can add in duration. Next, you'll select out the effective date using the calendar icon. If this is an in-house service, you can select out the HAB plan that is associated with this service. And lastly, you'll select from the valued outcomes we added earlier, which ones are associated with this service. Finally, we come to Other Services, or 100% OPWDD funded supports and resources. Here we can add those on as we did before, adding the name of the provider and the type of service. The next section we're going to skip over at this time, as it will make more sense to do it after your plan has been approved and you've put on your MSC signature. Our last section is the attachment section. Here we can attach related documents, but keep in mind the LCED and MSC agreement do have another storage place on Therap. As we come to the bottom, we'll see a few options. The first one is to save. We can save periodically as we work on our plan so that all the changes we've made are locked in. If you save a plan, it will be found on your to-do tab of your dashboard as a work list number. The second option we have is to submit it. Submitting it would be turning it in for authorization or approval. The third option is to approve. You may or may not see this button depending on your Therap access. The approval would be the final stamp to say this plan can go into effect. Walking through this in a normal workflow, we're going to assume that you've submitted this to your supervisor. Your supervisor will find it on their to-do tab under ISP Plan Approve. Once they click the number, they'll be able to open the plan you submitted to them. They can look it over for their review. If they find everything is correct, they can go ahead and approve it. If everything is not correct and they'd like to see some changes, they have a couple options. One, they could edit the document, or two, they could return it to the submitter. If you would like to return it to the submitter, you have the option at the top to add what we call a T-note. A T-note is an electronic post-it where you can add notes for the submitter to understand why you're returning it back to them. Once the plan has been approved, it's going to do two things automatically. Anybody that has ISP Plan View will automatically be alerted of the new plan. Here they'll be able to acknowledge it from their dashboard. The second thing it's going to do is it's going to allow you to put your MSC signature directly on the plan. You'll be alerted of this on your To-Do tab as well and can click on MSC signature to open it up. Once you have the plan open, you'll scroll all the way to the bottom and can check off that you're signing as the MSC for the 45-day requirement. Once you've selected the box, you'll save at the bottom.